episode of Francofille Knits, a creative podcast. My name is Devin. You can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as bdevan. Before diving into what's going on behind me, what's on my needles, and what I recently finished, I thought it would be good to introduce myself, let you know a little bit more about my goals for this podcast. So first of all, I've been talking about wanting to do a podcast for a couple of years now, and finally, about a month ago, my husband really encouraged me to try it out. You've been talking about doing this for so long. You've got the skills necessary. There's no reason not to. So why not just go for it? So here I am. I'm at the point in my knitting where I'm starting to write up my own pattern, design my own garments. I'm trying to figure out how all of that works. So I figured it'd be nice to have a place to kind of catalog and document the process. As for Francofille, the name of the podcast, and I guess my store on Ravelry, where you can find the one pattern I've written so far. It's free, don't worry. Francofille is the combination of the words, I'm looking at my notes that are just off screen. It's the combination of the words francophile and the French word for girl, which is fille. And yeah, I'm definitely a francophile. France and French, all that good stuff definitely inspires me. I've been studying French since I was about 11. I'm going to be 32 here in just a couple months. I've got my bachelor's, master's, and PhD in French. I've been teaching French at the university level since 2007. Lived in France, I've studied there, I've taught there. I even got married there this last summer to an American. We dragged our non-French speaking friends and family there for 10 days. And it was kind of amazing. A little bit rough. I was the only one who spoke French. But it's still totally worth it. But yeah, so definitely a francophile. And funnily enough, also all about knitting. Before telling you what's in these bags behind me, I figured it'd be nice to tell you what I'm wearing. This is a shawl that I knit up in 2012, so it's a little bit on the older side. This is the Alexander shawl by D. O'Keefe. It's available on Ravelry. So it's just a nice lace shawl, triangular shawl, fairly standard triangular shawl construction. It's knit out of Madeline Tosh Merino Light in the saffron colorway. Really nice tonal orange, some bright oranges, some browns, some yellows. I really like it. Maybe not everybody's color, but I enjoy it. And as I'm looking at it, it needs to be reblocked fairly seriously. So, project for this coming week, maybe. Yeah, let's start with what's on my needles. So, first thing here, in this project bag, I just started making my own project bags. I hadn't really sewn anything since I was in middle school. I had to make like a locker caddy or something when I was 12. And hadn't sewn anything until about a month ago. I started using project bags for my knitting last summer, and then, I think in November, December, came across Nicole of Q Loco's fantastic, seriously fantastic project bag tutorial on her YouTube page. And honestly, it is the clearest tutorial I could possibly imagine. She's got this great video, and on her website she's got a PDF for the pattern, including templates, things like that. If you're at all interested in making your own project bags, I highly recommend it. So the two smaller ones behind me were done using that pattern. I've since kind of played with the math and made some larger ones. Whoop! They fall over as well. I love using project bags. I didn't for years and years. Didn't use them for years and years. Started using them, like I said, this summer. Mostly as a way to keep my cats out of my knitting and keep my husband from getting frustrated at the yarn that ends up strewn across our house. When we wake up in the morning because the cats decide to play in the middle of the night. Yeah, they are fantastic. Cannot recommend, again, her Nicole's tutorial highly enough. They're lined. They're fun. The construction's super solid. And if I can figure it out after not touching a sewing machine for 20 years, anybody can get it figured out. But yeah, so in my little project bag, I've got my first thing on my needles, which is my Color Affection shawl. Now let's back up. I'm doing a color blocked Color Affection shawl for the Yarner Woman's striped shawl knit along, which I think is going on in January and February. And like I said, it's a Color Affection shawl, but I'm doing it color block style, sort of inspired by Coralie of Francofille Knits. She had this phenomenal color blocked Color Affection shawl she showed on her podcast. I want to say back in November or December. And as soon as I saw it, I knew I needed one, obviously. But there were other projects going on. I didn't really have any yarn that I desperately wanted to knit it with. And then Yarner Woman announced she was doing a Color Affection knit along. It was just too many coincidences all at once. It was the universe conspiring against me, telling me I needed to knit one of these. So I am. This is actually my second Color Affection shawl. I did one a couple years back that I don't wear all that often. The pattern is fantastic. I just didn't really end up liking the colors, the combination of colors that I ended up picking to knit it out of. It was one of the first sort of color work projects I did. So I think I'm actually going to get a lot more wear out of this one. So the colors I am using, the yarns I'm using, so here starting with this maroon color. This is Cascade Heritage sock yarn. It's fingering weight. I believe it is a 75% merino, 25% nylon blend. Could be wrong on the numbers there. The color is wine. And then this creamy white color, that's fairly accurate, is also a Cascade Heritage yarn. It's a Cascade Heritage silk. It is 85% superwash merino and 15% mulberry silk. It is the softest yarn. It's knitting up really nicely. And then the last color I'm going to do is going to be, almost ready to switch to it, this Malabrigo sock what is the name of this one? Got the tag in the bag here. It's the other nice thing about project bags. Got the information for all your socks all together. And again, this one is 100% superwash merino. And the name of the colorway is Marte, M-A-R-T-E, Marte. I speak French, I don't speak anything else. Let's see, it's like another really pretty tonal burgundy color. Really excited to see how this one knits up. So that'll be the final big band. And then once that one's finished, I'm going to go back with the wine color and add on a border as well. So I'm excited to see how this one goes. I've got a lot on my needles right now. I'm about to start another shawl, so this for another knit along, so this one may have to hibernate for another week or two. But yeah, so that's that one. Definitely recommend the Color Affection pattern. It's really clear, really fun. It gets into some really interesting construction techniques, especially if you do it the way you're supposed to with the actual stripes. Do this one next, why not? This was the first bag that I tried sewing. You can see it's got some questionable construction. I did my best, you know, I'm pretty pleased. I was so pleased with myself when I finished it. My husband was just laughing at me. Was just so tickled I actually sewed something and it stayed together. Who knew? Alright, so in this one, decided over winter break just to learn a bunch of new skills because why not? I had a couple weeks. So I've been knitting socks forever. One of the first projects I actually ever attempted knitting was a pair of socks. So I'm doing a pair of 2 at a time socks, which this is the new technique. I always knit my socks 1 at a time, but I figured I should try figuring out at least how 2 at a time works. And it's fiddly. The answer is it's fiddly. I see the appeal. These are going to be a gift for my sister-in-law, and so I wanted to make sure that the stripes the pair of socks matched as best as possible. So I'm knitting them 2 at a time. Makes sense for that. I'm knitting them top down, as you can see, and I'm doing a Fishlet's Kiss heel with these. My second pair of socks using that technique. I actually really like it. I'm a little nervous about how the heel is going to wear in the end. I'm going to end up having to darn these a lot more than I would with my standard slip stitch heel flap construction, but it's fun to learn new things, and it definitely fits nicely. But yeah, so these are for my sister-in-law. The yarn here, again, you can see it's nice self-striping yarn. Knit Picks Felici in the candy jar colorway. There we go. I guess they're bringing Felici back periodically, so special reserve. I like Felici. I think it's a good work yarn, right? It stands up to wear and tear really nicely. 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. And yeah, having fun with these. I'm doing them 2 at a time. They're not something I can bring around with me to knit when I'm knitting in public or, you know, talking with people while I knit, things like that. So they've kind of stalled out a little bit, but on my needles, something I'm working on. I'm gonna hold off on this one for a second. This is a project that has been giving me some serious frustration. Another pair of socks that I'm working on. I always have socks on the needle since it is. I like vanilla socks are great for knitting in front of people, right? Because they're interesting to see how they kind of form as you're knitting them. People can identify a sock pretty quickly. They know why you'd be making those, right? And they're fairly mindless, unless you're at a heel or a toe or something like that. I mean, it's just miles of stockinette for the most part, right? Unless you're doing a pattern. But yeah, vanilla socks fantastic for knitting with other people. These, again, I just got these started. I like knitting on circulars, magic loop style. Got my little stitch marker. I made this myself beginning of December, something like that. Again, learning. It was the Christmas break of learning new techniques, new things, included how do you make your own stitch markers? And, I mean, using an absolute workhorse yarn for this, patent Croy socks. The colorway for this is Clover. Right? That's just a nylon wool blend. Love these. This is how bad. I love ugly sock yarn. I mean, ugly in that it's got a lot going on. I don't know, it makes me happy. I enjoy knitting it. I have no problems normally with my socks not matching perfectly. So, yeah, it'll be great. I'm excited. Again, just one of my little Knit Picks muslin bags. Yeah, I guess that leaves us with this last bag here. Is a lace shawl that I am designing. Like I said, I am trying my hand at designing my own patterns and things like that. And so, in the spirit of that, I love knitting lace. It makes me really happy for some reason. Uh, Actually, not a real problem. The couple stitches came off the needles, but I actually have to rip this back. So I don't know why I'm bothering to say this, but I apparently am. My computer keeps throwing up my screensaver. You can see, just a triangular shawl, lace pattern shawl here. I'm knitting this in Knit Picks Gloss Fingering, the Coastal Gray colorway, which has been in my stash forever. I think it's seriously been in my stash for at least 5 years, probably closer to 7. Using a couple of my own stitch markers just to indicate the middle there. But yeah, just a nice, fairly easy to memorize lace pattern down through. Kind of playing around with it. I need to rip it back, like I said, because I am fairly close to running out of my yarn here, and I still need to do the edging motif. So yeah, really not looking forward to having to rip back. I basically need to rip back to where that stitch marker is, or that progress keeper is. So I gotta rip back a little ways. But it's been really fun, kind of figuring out the math and how the lace pattern ends up getting built in and incorporated as you increase along the sides. It's been a really fun exercise, actually. We'll talk more about this and the details, the inspiration, all that kind of stuff once I do that ripping back and get less frustrated with where it's at the moment. Yeah, another one of my little project bags. This one's fun. I made myself a little zipper pull using a little owl bead that I found at the craft store. Really love him. He's my favorite. He's my friend. Keeps my knitting company. So yeah, so there's that. The last thing on my needles was a project that I was really excited about. Really had fun the first half of the project, and then it's, in the words of the Knitmore girls, it's when knitting attacks. Okay. They are fingerless mitts that were supposed to be a Christmas present for my mom. She loves fingerless mitts. Wears them basically from September to May. She lives in Chicago and her hands get cold, so she loves them and hates gloves and mittens. She doesn't like having her fingers enclosed. So, yeah, just a nice, really interesting construction. They are, what is the name of this pattern? I'll put it up, pop it up probably somewhere along here. The pattern's by Isolde Teague, and it's a fantastic pattern. Like, don't get me wrong. Her pattern, she's brilliant. Her designs are really, really interesting. Love knitting her stuff. And the construction for this is so interesting and so cool. Which you can probably start to tell just by looking at it, right? We've got the cuff, the thumb continues up from the cuff. We've got garter stitch here for the body of the hand that's knit perpendicular to the cuff. It's really cool how it works. And the first hand was so easy. The directions were so clear. I was so excited. I was about to make like 15 more of them. And then, cast on the second hand. And admittedly, the first problem was really myself, where I just went on autopilot. We were visiting relatives for Christmas, and I was working on it, and wasn't paying too much attention, and started making 2 of the same size gloves, same side gloves. So that wasn't really going to work. So I ripped back, started over, and started reading directions. And the directions for the second hand require you to knit inside out, which is fine, right? That shouldn't be a problem with, 2x2 ribbing and garter stitch like that. Yeah, fine. I'm not doing anything complicated here. Except, for some reason, I just can't seem to wrap my mind around it. And I'm not a stupid person. I promise I'm not. Right, and you can see that it's starting to look like it's supposed to, except the way the body joins to the thumb, I somehow screwed up and I'm ended up decreasing in the ribbing instead of on the hand, right? Which you can see here, right? On the other hand, it decreases into the garter stitch in the body of the hand, and the ribbing stays nice and the same. I don't know what I did. I don't know how I screwed that up, but I have to go back and rip it out and redo it. My poor mom was so excited about it. She helped me pick out the color and the yarn when she came to visit in October, I think. And we went on vacation together to Colorado over Christmas, over New Year's actually. And while we were there, I could tell she wanted to ask where her mittens were, her mitts were. Scrap yarn because it needs a provisional cast on. But she for 3 days held herself back from asking what happened to her mitts, like why did she have them? Why were her hands cold? Which for my mom holding back on asking about something for 3 days was slightly miraculous. So I finally had to break down and tell her that it's going to be a minute before she gets those. I need to find the strength to return to that project. But yeah, knitting those out of this really cool yarn that was perfect for her too. It's Ancient Arts yarns. This, superwash merino, like you can see, nylon blend, fingering weight. The colorway here is Alaskan Malamute, maybe? Malamute? Mute seems to sound right. I'm going to make sure the video gets flipped around so you can actually read that. And what's really cool about this and why it was so perfect for my mom is that they donate a portion of the proceeds of the yarn to help with stray and abandoned dogs. And my mom is obsessive about her dog at the moment, dogs normally. All about rescue animals, helping dogs. My mom likes dogs more than she likes people. That's not an exaggeration, and she would not refute me on that statement. So, yarn that helps dogs, she was all about. And the colorway kind of looks like her dog. So she was kind of excited about that. Eventually, Mom will get these. Maybe Mother's Day. It may take me that long to return to this project. That's how frustrated I am at this point. Let's see here. In terms of what's off my needles, unfortunately, I don't have much here in front of me to show you. With the holidays and things like that, most of what I've made recently has been gifted. The first thing I'll tell you about, though, normally lives at my house, but my husband decided to selfishly wear his hat on a cold day to work. But I normally don't knit for him. He has actively told me he doesn't want me to knit for him because he doesn't want to have the pressure of having to really take care of a hand knit. Which I get. Just coffee. In my mug. But yeah, so we've been together for about a decade now. And this is the second thing he's asked me to knit him. Alright, so I think the previous thing he'd asked me to knit him was a hat, and that was at least 7 years ago. And somewhere in one of our moves, the hat got lost. I was fine with it. I was not thrilled with that hat. I thought it was kind of ugly. I don't remember purposefully losing it, but it's entirely possible that I may have misplaced that hat in a move. But, yeah, like I said, we went on vacation to Colorado, so before we left, he asked me to make him a new hat because he knew it would be cold. So, had him pick out some colors, tell me a little bit about what he was looking for, and he picked out, I'll show you a picture of the pattern here, the Pom Pom Hat by Tina Haugland. I speak English and French. I don't speak Norwegian. I wish I did. But yeah, he really liked that, wanted some color work, so I ran out and got him some yarn for that. So I knit it out of Plymouth Yarn's Homestead yarn. It's an Aran weight in navy and heather gray. And he's worn it almost every day since I finished it. I keep threatening to make a pom-pom to add to the top of the hat. He feels that would be undignified. I disagree. I think it would be wonderful. Something about professors needing to be dignified. The second hat I made out of the same yarn, because Aran Weight knits up super quickly and actually doesn't, you don't need that much yarn to make a hat when you're working with that heavy of a yarn. It was just kind of me playing around with color work and patterns and making a hat. I was actually originally hoping to keep it for myself, but as I was knitting it, my younger brother, who was on vacation with us, was just absolutely fascinated by the color work and was really excited about it, so I gave it to him. Yeah, just a quick little knit, just playing around with color work. If people are interested, I can write up a pattern for it. It really wasn't anything crazy difficult, but here's a picture of my little brother wearing it. And then the last thing I finished recently, a pair of socks that I wrote up a pattern for. Like I said, I normally I just knit vanilla socks. I went through a phase where every sock I knit had to have some sort of really interesting pattern on it. And then basically I just wanted something simple to knit, so I switched to vanilla socks. But I decided to try my hand at something a little bit more interesting. And these are my broderie anglaise socks. Broderie anglaise is the name of the stitch pattern here, which I found in one of my various stitch dictionaries. I cite it in the pattern. And then these poor socks are looking a little rough, a little pilly, because I love them and I've been wearing them a lot and need to de-pill them. So yeah, so design's my own. You can find it on Ravelry. It's free. It's free because it's the first pattern I've written, and I feel kind of bad making anybody pay for something that I'm not 100% sure is clear. So, yeah. Any feedback if anybody wants to knit them, any feedback would be abundantly helpful. Like I said at the very beginning, I'm trying to figure out how this whole designing your own patterns and writing them up thing works. So, there we go. But, yeah, again, the directions are top down. These were the first Fish Lips Kiss heels I knit, which I definitely recommend. They're really fun. It's really kind of satisfying to learn a new heel technique. But yeah, I knit these out of some Woolen Vines yarns in the Volca base that had just been sitting in my stash for a while. The colorway is Dirty on Purpose, and it was one of her Misfit schemes. So you can kind of see that. I love it. I think said twice now, I don't care about my socks being perfectly matched, but you can see that the one over here is a little bit darker than the one over here. I think that's just the way they dyed up. But that's kind of the fun of hand-dyed yarns, right? That they're not going to be perfect, perfectly matched from skein to skein or even within a skein. I kind of enjoy that. Makes it a little more special. Alright, so that's basically everything I've finished recently. I was really hoping to have more once I started thinking about having a podcast to show you, but like I said, my knitting attacked me. Let's see. Moving on to what I'm about to cast on, and I need to get moving on this, as it's for another knit along. Another podcast or another project bag based off of Nicole from Hugh Loco's tutorial, and it's kind of fitting actually because this is for her Atwood shawl knit along. Put a picture of the shawl here. This is how far I've gotten in the knit along. I've run out of time. It's the very beginning of the semester. This is the first week of classes right now, and things have gotten a little bit hectic. I was hoping to have this cast on already, but I'll talk more about what's been going on and what's been slowing down my knitting at the very end. But yeah, so I got one of her project kits because I knew when she announced she was doing the knit along that I wanted to take part, and I am doing it out of her own yarn. This is her. Right, you logo. There we go. Her glitz base, and the colorway is Peapod. Hopefully you can see this. Hopefully I don't need to recalibrate too badly. The white tag is probably not helping that. And it's this really nice, sort of light, warm spring green color. Nice and tonal. There's some stellina in it, so it sparkles. I don't know if that's coming across or not. But yeah, so really excited to knit up with this. It's really soft. I think it's going to knit up really nicely. It's a superwash merino nylon stellina blend, and I got enough to do the large shawl, and love her. I think I ordered the project kit at like 11 o'clock at night or something, a couple hours after she announced that she had the project kits available on her store, and she had it shipped out to me within 12 hours. Like literally the next morning, she already had it to the post office and shipped out. It came with like this cute little card and some candy. Who doesn't love that? How adorable. And then the other thing in the big kit I'm super excited about, I've been keeping this with the yarn, is some wool wash. She's selling now on her store. I think she said she collaborated with somebody in Denver. She's based out of Boulder. And it's this nice wool wash that is this lemon and lavender blend, which, like, for me is my favorite smell, my favorite scent for basically any cleaning product. My entire house smells like lavender. It's kind of amazing. If you like that thing, that sort of thing. Okay, I need to put this away or I'm going to keep sniffing it like some kind of strange addict. But I'm excited. I need to get this caked up because I think her knit along only is until the end of the month. So my poor little color affection may need to pause for a minute while I get this done. I'm really excited about it though. Product bag. Let's see what else. I mean, that's really the only thing I've got planned to be knitting so far. I've got another shawl that I've been playing around with ideas for. But I mean, it's really just in the conception stage at this point. I've got yarn picked out and a general idea of what I want to do, but it hasn't moved beyond that. So, once I actually start on it, I'll tell you about it. Other than that, yeah, I mean, that's basically where I'm at right now. Like I said, my knitting is kind of slowed down since it's the beginning of the semester, and also because of sorority recruitment. I advise one of the sororities here on campus. Where I work, where I got my PhD, is a very large Midwestern university, and we have a giant Greek system here, including 22, soon to be 23 of the NPC sororities. There are a bunch of different councils and things like that. Yeah. So at this university, we've got IFC, right, Interfraternity Council. We've got NPC, National Pan-Hellenic Council, NPHC, National Pan-Hellenic Council, right, the Divine Nine, all that good stuff. And we have MCGC, Multicultural Greek Council. I think that's what that, most likely they're all councils. A bunch of different Greek letter organizations here. It's kind of crazy. And so we're in the midst of recruitment. It spans 2 weekends in January in rural Indiana. Not the best time to be doing recruitment, but I mean, there really isn't a great time. I mean, if we did it in the fall, like a lot of other schools do, we'd be dealing with heat issues. Now we're dealing with snow and cold. You know. But yeah, so it's kind of a huge undertaking. There are something like, we started out with between, I want to say 1,600 and 1,700 women going through recruitment. Like people, potential new members, right? Women looking to join organizations. I mean, alone, that's the number of women looking to find a house, basically. It's insane. It's crazy. I think I was at the sorority house by 6 a.m. almost every day, Thursday through Sunday last week. I'm going to be back at the sorority house this weekend, bright and early, helping them out with second invite and preference and all that good stuff. I love volunteering and advising this chapter, so I'm not complaining at all. I'm actually really excited about it, but it does take up a lot of time. So knitting is unfortunately going to have to pause for now. But yeah, so and then I also have, like I said, the semester starting back up. So I'm teaching again this semester. I have a new to me class, so it involves a lot of prep. So I actually have to do my job and not just knit. So hopefully I'll have more to tell you about next week. Other than that, there's going to be a Ravelry group for this podcast. Any and all feedback is definitely welcome. Whatever you want to hear about, whatever you don't want to hear about. Yeah, all questions, comments, and concerns, definitely bring them to me. I want to hear about it. Yeah, other than that, I will see you hopefully next week.